missing out on one, or if you didn't register in time or whatever. So I recommend that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also keep up with us on all our social media. We are at Power to Fly on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, as well as YouTube. Let's see what else. Yeah, I think that covers it for now. So as I said, today's event is in partnership with Netskope. So I'm going to send you a link here in just a moment to where you can check out their company page on powertofly.com. It's going to look like the screen that you see in front of you. And one of the things that's super important to know here is you can do a couple things. You can check out company info to learn more about who Netskope is as an organization. You can check out their company events. That'll show you events like today that you can register for, or recordings from past events to see if that you can check up on and go and see what else Netskope has been involved in with Power to Fly. So then the last thing, hold on, here we go. There's your link. I'm putting it in the chat box right now to where you can check this out, check out Netskope's company page. Now, the last thing I want to direct your eye to here is that when you log into this page, there's going to be in the upper right-hand corner, a big pink follow button. If you click that, it's going to put you on Netskope's follow network, and it's going to do a couple really great things for you. But basically what you need to know is that it's going to tell Netskope that you are interested in working with them even before you fill out an application. So it puts you on Netskope's radar, but then it's also going to keep Netskope on your radar. It's going to tell you when they post new roles, things like that. So it's a really great way to make sure that, even if you are maybe not actively job searching right now, you don't forget about this great company you heard about. But it's also really good if you are actively searching, but don't really see anything that suits you right now. Because like I said, they're going to update you when new roles get posted. So it's a really good way to, a really fun and free function of our website. So definitely take a look at Netskope's company page to learn some more about them. Now, last but not least, before you jump into questions, obviously you want to know who you're talking to today. So joining us from the Netskope team is Shaila Vasudev. Shaila has held many technical and people leadership roles within the world of engineering. She currently serves as the director in quality engineering and also as the technical architect for special projects at Netskope. Shaila is passionate about building and bringing excellent products to the marketplace, as well as helping further the careers of women in engineering. So welcome, Shaila. We're so happy to have you today.
Thank you very much, Meg. I'm very happy to be here.
Awesome. All right, so last but not least, what you're seeing on your screen right now, these are some of the principal themes that we're going to try and address in today's conversation. Now, we came up with these based on conversations with Shaila prior to even launching today's session as an event. But we also took into account the questions that y'all asked during your registration for today's event. So you guys had some really great questions. It was super great. But what we did is we kind of condensed those down into a conversational format, kind of arranged them as such. And what we're going to try and do is cover the subjects that you see on the screen right now. Now, that is to say, if you took time out of your day to spend with us live, no offense to future viewers, sorry, but if you took time out of your day to spend with us live today, then we want to make sure that the time you spend with Power to Fly and Netskope is well worth it. So if you have questions, if you've submitted a question and you're not sure if we're going to get to it, please feel free to volunteer that question. If we are addressing one of your questions and we're not really taking the right, view on it, or you want us to go more in depth about something, totally fine. Ask further questions, give us more context, or feel free to come off mute and chat with us if that's your question that's being addressed. So the only thing I do recommend is that unless you are actively speaking, you don't come off mute. It just maintains audio clarity on the call for everyone. And try your best not to interrupt either Shaila or any of our other attendees. I get paid to fill the silence, so you're totally fine to interrupt me. So like I said, we're going to talk a little bit about the pivotal role of mentorship in career development. We're going to talk about the importance of giving and receiving feedback, which are two entirely different skills, as I'm sure Shaila is going to go into. We're going to discuss some soft skills that might be useful to a successful career as an engineer, as well as what the role of continuous learning and how that plays into an engineering career to help you stay ahead of that technical curve. So Shaila, to get us started, let me stop sharing my screen there. There we go. To get us started with the first question, A lot of people wanted to know your experience, like what your journey as a female in tech has been like. So why don't you share a little, if you're comfortable, share a little bit of that with us, maybe like how you got started and maybe what changes you see from then to now.
Sure, I would be happy to share that. I mean, so it's been an incredible journey, but not one without challenges for sure. And so I kind of stumbled into technology. I wasn't really, I was actually planning to be, when I was young, I wanted to be a doctor. And then I switched, I said, okay, I want to be an economist. And from an economist to choosing engineering and choosing technology and staying this long in this field has been an amazing challenge. And it's not been easy, I have to say that. So because there are some unique challenges that women in technology face. And, these are caused by how society views women and how we view situations as well. So part of the challenges are actually challenges that that stem from me as well. There is and technology is a place where there are deadline pressures. There's just the pace that things go at makes it very hard to balance work and family. Personally, I have struggled to manage work and family. I've tried all kinds of things like I've quit my job, like worked part-time, worked in consulting positions, took on consulting jobs every now and then. I've done all kinds of things to kind of keep myself current and keep myself engaged in this area. So it has been a very interesting challenge. And each time I've encountered a challenge, I've tried to find my own way, not look for ways that the well-trodden path may not work for all of us. So I've tried to find ways that are individual to my situations, and always reached out to find a positive outcome for both myself and for others around me.
Now, did you feel like that was a common, I don't want to say a common path, but people, other women that were, that you saw in your career, do you think that your approach was a common one for the time or for your specific, your specific location? Or did you feel at all like you were kind of trailblazing, or, as my mom tends to put it, guessing and hoping for the best?
so yeah, that's I wasn't really thinking of myself as a trailblazer, but I kind of tried to find things that worked for me. But individually for me, I found that certain things, like for example, many women try to balance work and family in a certain way. Like there are people who like to integrate work into their family, family into their work life, and there are some people who try to balance it. There are others who try to manage it differently. So for me, I had my own challenges, and I felt that I took the path that worked for me. I mean, a lot of people do have difficulty with that because quitting your job or moving to a part-time position or moving to a consulting role from a full-time position, and having been an architect even before and in a very responsible position before I did all these things, is probably not a path that many people would have taken. Many people in my place would have taken at that time. But I took that because I felt very confident that I would be able to come back, that I would be able to continue in this field and still stay current and still manage through through the challenges. So I think so it was I would say a little bit of both. Like maybe there is some I wouldn't quite call myself a trailblazer, but it's a little bit of taking the chances.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And I don't think you're alone in the belief that, you tried your best, but not like, I feel like parenting and working is one of those things that nobody's ever really happy with the balance. There's always room for improvement there. But also parents are so much harder on themselves than the kids are. So I thank you so much for your candor there, because it's one of those things that I feel like a lot of people feel like other people have it all figured out, when it's just not the case. So thank you for sharing that.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay, so a lot of people wanted to know if you have any advice for breaking into tech, especially after a boot camp. Now, my understanding of the question was not like as a boot camp to, revive your skills or anything, but like people that are trying to get into the field. So what are your opinions on, people that come out of boot camps or what they should be doing to get that first job?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and it's boot camps most of the time are focused on specific areas, and they are great ways to break into technology if you're already an expert in the application domain. Because as we know, computer science and technology is an applied science, so it's basically applied to a specific domain. So if you're already a domain expert and you want to kind of challenge yourself to move into technology with that domain expertise, then boot camps are a great way. But as you move in deeper and deeper into technology, and if you really want to, take that as your path, what is important is it's very important to pursue more foundational computer science courses in order to augment the bootcamp learning. So the bootcamp is helpful to kind of get your feet in the door, but as you need to grow in that role and further yourself in that role, it is always helpful to kind of get more courses under your belt.
Okay. And thank you for specifying that, because that's a question we get asked a lot about, like, kind of where should you focus? Now, going back to what you had said previously about your journey in tech, and you talked about, having contract roles and all that kind of stuff. We got a couple questions asking about how you were able to find find work that is like part-time or flexible to work within your schedule. Is that something that's more common now, or is it something that is still kind of a unicorn that people are looking for that really flexible tech job?
So I think there is a much better understanding of women and I know the need for balancing work and much more flexibility in the tech field today than what was there 25 years ago when I had to traverse this path. So there is definitely a much greater understanding, and there are many companies which are very supportive of family and supportive of the challenges that women face. So I think that is one thing I would say. And in terms of like finding these finding these consulting roles, and a lot of it was through word of mouth. A lot of it was from, one project led to another. It was not anything that I specifically went out and did myself. It just happened, like, it was, and I cannot say that it was a very enjoyable experience, and I will tell you why. Because I always felt that each time I did these consulting roles, even though it was, it provided me the flexibility, I was in a new place, I was in a new job, I was trying to adjust to new situations, and it was quite intense while I was in that new place. So instead of like, a continuous maybe curve of like, intensity, it was sort of like intense in spurts. So it was, I would say it was, it's not, again, everybody's cup of tea. It wasn't exactly my cup of tea either. So which is what prompted me later on to actually come back to full-time positions and pursue technology through full-time involvement.
Awesome. Okay. And hopefully to the couple of people that asked that question, hopefully that answers your question. We also had a lot of questions from people saying that, especially as women coming from a self-taught background, as opposed to like a traditional education, a major in computer science or whatever, these people wanted to know if you have any idea why it's so hard for self-taught software engineers to land a job. Is this something that you've seen, or do you have a different take on it?
No, absolutely. This is very true. And the reason, there are a few reasons for it. Like, one is that, unfortunately, even in today's environment, we find that the technical credibility barrier for women is higher than men. The reason for that is many people out there have not seen engineer moms They have not seen engineer sisters whom they look to as role models. They have not seen, they've been like, they've only seen helping their moms to traverse technology. They've not come to a place where their moms are their technical advisors. So it is sort of a little bit of a difference. And, we have so many examples of self-taught male software engineers and software entrepreneurs who are doing all these things. And, but the examples of women who are self-taught and have actually broken into the tech field from other areas is not that many. There are not that many examples of that. So people really don't relate to that. It's not very easy. I mean, we relate to what our experiences have been and what we have seen before. So people do not relate to that. So there is, but definitely there are self-taught, excellent engineers, women software engineers out there. And there is no need to prove that women can do it and do it well. It just takes some education to convey to people that this is a reality.
I love how you phrase that, right? That credibility barrier. It's one of those things that you see in a lot of different areas. There's like kind of that gatekeeping aspect. But yeah, it's also, you're right. It's one of those things where I have to have a friend who's into music and she's in a band, and everywhere she goes in a band tee, it's usually some dude will be like, oh, you like so-and-so, name 3 songs. And it's like, okay, fine. But if you're not also doing that to the dudes you see rocking the band tee, like that's you need to think about these things. It's not just that you have high standards for your team or something. Are you applying those standards equitably to each of these people? And are you taking into account the backgrounds each of those people have, as opposed to just assuming that they don't know as much as you because you've never seen, a female software engineer before. So I love how you highlighted that. Thank you.
Sure. And also, I just want to add that this is not only men who do this. Interestingly, women also don't relate to it as easily. So it's not just, it's not just a gender thing here. It is more about, socially how we respond and how the images that we have carried in our minds from our past.
That is a very good point. Thank you for that. Thank you for calling that out. You're right. Yeah, we absolutely have a lot of these like kind of socially conditioned behaviors that we really do need to re-examine. Okay, so this person wrote in with a kind of like a more specific question. They said, I see some of my friends moving from a senior engineer to a QA automation engineer role on their way to becoming an engineer manager. For women, is that an alternate path to enter into a management role, or is there a different or better path to take?
So a lot of times, QA automation is certainly a path to take if you're interested in it. But however, it's not the only one, and it's really not. You shouldn't take that path just to become an engineering manager. You should definitely look for, if you're interested in leadership, that is, and you're interested in consensus building, you should basically, you have those roles available to you throughout engineering, not just in the QA space, but everywhere. You can take on more leadership roles. Of course, you'll need the support of your manager. So one of the things I would say is talk to your manager or other mentors in the organization. Take them into confidence. Tell them that, hey, I'm thinking of this. I'm thinking of growing in this direction, and allow them to guide you in this direction, and figure out what is it that you need to do where you can actually be such a strong leader that not giving you a leadership position would be like, how did we miss that? We want people to think like that, like, how did I miss this person? That's where you want to bring yourself to.
I love that. Thank you. Okay, so kind of along these same lines, we had a lot of people that wanted to know about like how to be successful, right? And I feel like a lot of this boils down to this idea of the the definition of career growth or success. How do you view these things? Because I feel like both of these terms, they seem like kind of, it seems like ubiquitous to everyone, but really the actual like meaning and practicalities of it really depend on each person in particular. So, what would you say your definition of career growth is, and how have you worked to achieve that?
This is a great question. And as you said, it means different things to different people. So career growth, so for some people it's the title, for some people it's the role, for some people it's the salary, some people it's the opportunity to work in a product area. So you have to, and it's not a one size fits all. So you have to define your own, you have to ask your soul. There needs to be, as you grow in engineering or in any other field, you need to do a lot of introspection. You need to think about what works for me, what is my desire, where do I want to take myself to, and thinking about these things, just like you think about when you introspect, you need to not only think about what are my flaws. I mean, of course, we all have flaws and we all have things that we need, weaknesses that we need to improve on. But you should also think about, what are my strengths? What is it that I can do? What is it that I can make a real impact? What is it that I can make a difference? I mean, what are those areas that I can make a difference in? How can I be the best I can be? And in that sense, so I see career growth as moving in the direction that makes you feel rewarded and makes you feel you're growing. So it has to come from within you. What is career growth? What does it mean for you? And there is no fixed recipe for it. There are some approaches that I can share with you that I have actually tried myself, and I can't say it's 100% successful, but it has been partially successful. But it may work for you, it may not work for you. Some things may and some things may not. But we are here of some of those ideas. Like, for example, set short and long-term goals for yourself, but don't let them pressure you. If you have to pivot, if you have to, one of our mentors at Netskope's women's networking organization, A1, she used to say, make a judo move. So I would say, don't tie yourself. I mean, make the goals, but don't tie yourself so tightly to the goals that the goals hold you down themselves. So stay open and flexible. And the second thing I would say is, grab every opportunity that comes your way and run with it. Just take it and run. I mean, if you see it, take it and just run. Don't wait for anyone to tell you. Don't wait for anyone to, give you permission. Don't wait for anyone to suggest it to you. Just do it. And the third thing that has always, I feel, has helped me is I always work to achieve a bigger cause than just my own personal success, whether it is the success of people in my team, or whether it's the success of all the people in the company, or whether it's the success of the company, or any other bigger cause that you can think of. So whatever you do should come from a place of you trying to achieve not just your own personal success, but something greater than that, because that certainly inspires us much more. Interestingly, actually, you would think that we are all inspired by our own personal situations. Actually, the greatest inspiration in life is to do something so that it is of benefit to others. And so if you think about the situation, say, this is a great opportunity. I can do a lot here. I can contribute a lot here. I can actually make a change here. And if you start there, then you're definitely going to be much more successful. And the last but not least, I want to say, don't ever get discouraged or frustrated if your work doesn't get noticed. There will be technical, there will be people challenges, there will be process challenges. See them as small, and they will be small for you.
I can't tell you how much I love that idea of, trying to work to serve a cause bigger than just you. I absolutely love that. You're right. It's one of those things that it sounds difficult in theory, but in practice, just look for something, or look for a way that you can extrapolate what you're doing now into a larger benefit or something like that. I love that. Thank you for sharing that with us. All right, so we have a little less than 30 minutes left in today's chat. This time always goes so quickly. So if you do have questions, please feel free to ask them. You can put them into the Zoom chat, or you're welcome to come off mute if you'd like. I'm happy to hold a couple seconds here in case anybody else would like to come off mute, so feel free. Doesn't look like we have anybody, but still, please feel free to do so if you'd like, everyone. So we had a lot of people that were unsure, basically, like, questions about how do you know that you should pursue a career in engineering? And I'm interested to see your opinion on this, especially when it comes to, like, are there any personalities that are best suited for engineering, or any skills that, you know, if you already have these, you would make a great, a great engineer. Are there any qualifications like that, or do you think it really is, just really depends on the person individually?
I think there are definitely some skills which will make you succeed more in engineering. Like, for example, your analytical skills, your skills to actually focus. Engineering requires a lot of attention and focus. You need to basically have a bigger attention span, and that helps. So these are some personal skills, personal characteristics that help you as an engineer. But there are other things as well. Nothing beats your own desire and your own passion to succeed in the area. It doesn't matter what skills you have. It doesn't matter what strengths you have. If you don't have the passion and the desire to do well, it is not going to be your side, your area. So you need to kind of examine what is it that makes you feel like, where you think that you can do the best contribution, or where you can really shine, or where you can succeed. And so I think that's where it should come from. Yeah.
No, I really like that idea. So a lot of people also had questions about how they should know, or how they can come to the idea or figure out if they want to pursue engineering while they're working full time. And obviously this is kind of along those same paths. But the follow-up question was that tech is ever changing. So how do I know where is best to invest my learning time? So if you're coming to this as, a career pivoter or something like that, and, working full time while you're chasing this, this skill or this dream, how do you recommend people kind of pace themselves when it comes to things like, trying to keep up with changes in tech?
So there are a few ways. There are a lot of schools which offer, colleges and schools which offer courses. So you can take that. You can take courses on the internet. Your own company may have courses that are available that you can take. It is very important in technology to also see where the industry is heading, so that you invest your time on the technologies which are going to give you the best benefit. And that information, there are a few ways that you can gather that information. So talk technology with people who are in the area. Talk to your mentors. And your mentors don't necessarily have to be within your company. You can reach out to a lot of people out there, and they will be willing to respond to you. Read blogs of companies. A lot of companies put out technology blogs, and they talk about leading edge things that they are doing. So you can read those. They put out papers, they put out blogs. So the key thing here is that figure out what areas of technology you're interested in, and what areas of technology, or which direction the industry is heading. And somewhere at the intersection of that lies what you should be pursuing.
Thank you. Thank you for breaking that down. I think you're right. It's one of those things that people don't tend to look inward. I feel like everybody's trying to make sure that they're as versatile as possible, or as trying to work on that breadth of knowledge as opposed to depth of knowledge. So yeah, I think you're right. That's a really great way to kind of think of it, as looking at where you want to go and then how the tech is growing and find that intersection. I love that. Okay, so along the lines of mentorship, we had a lot of people that asked about what they should do when there really isn't any mentorship. This person wanted to know, is it best to just leave for another company and hope that there is a mentorship program there? Or, how else should you kind of seek out mentorship?
That's a great question. I mean, mentorship is very important. It is very important to be able to, to learn from other people who have, walked this journey. So sometimes you actually have to make people your mentors. um, uh, there are mentors and there are potential mentors. Those are the two kinds of people that you have. So I would not suggest that you leave a company for mentors. Reach out to the people. Look at people in your own company to see, whether they are people who you would like as mentors, whether you would gain from being associated with them and learning from them. And if you reach out to them, sometimes they will respond. If they don't respond, don't be discouraged. Many times they are busy, or your request may have come at an inopportune time. Wait for a few months and try to connect again. Sometimes it also helps to connect with a lesser commitment. So asking someone, will you be my mentor? Sometimes, the other person feels that, oh, this is a big commitment for me where I am today, because they have their other job as well. So it's kind of like hard for them to make that commitment. So ask for a lesser commitment, like, can we have a short chat, like a 15-minute chat or a half-an-hour chat? Just have a chat with them and then see if you can lead that to a more of a mentorship opportunity. And further, mentors don't have to be in your own company. You can also reach out to mentors in the industry, or just other leaders who are willing to invest time into mentorship. So it doesn't have to be, you can work at a certain company and have a mentor from some other company. So.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing those ideas. And actually, I want to highlight for anyone, because I know we got a lot of questions revolving around mentorship. So if you have interest in any, in mentorship, or, how to find a mentor, all that kind of stuff, I'm going to dig up some links here while we're going through the next question. I'll share those in the chat thread. But we have a lot of past chats that are on this, both from, external, like community members, as well as our own internal Power to Fly mentorship division. So I'll share those with y'all in just a moment here. Okay, so we did have a couple questions come through in the chat, so let's take a couple of those. One person had asked, do you think that the tech sector is ageist? The follow-up question was, what issues do older women face in the tech sector, and how can they overcome these barriers?
So I wouldn't quite say the tech sector is ageist, but however, the barrier goes a little bit higher as you grow older. And I will tell you why, because as human beings, we are constantly classifying, we are thinking about how we organize data. We kind of put people and experiences into buckets, and we unconsciously connect them in our decision making. So people have said there's been a lot of research done on this, and people say it's because of, we need to make split decisions for survival and all these different things. But whatever it may be, like I said earlier, right? Many people have not seen engineer moms. They have not seen tech savvy sisters. They have not seen technical 50+ women. These are not images that are very deeply, inscribed in people's minds. So I mean, I know this is going to improve the next generation. Thanks to a lot of us 50+ women is going to see this, is going to be able to see, older women who are as current and as sharp and as committed to technology. So they're going to see that. But unfortunately, it needs a lot of education. So there are, and this is not true just only of men, it's true of men and women who basically have these different images etched in their minds. So for that, what I would suggest is that, look for companies that value diversity in all dimensions. I mean, not just age, but in all dimensions, women, age, every dimension, and look for companies which have women in leadership positions, because that gives you, that if they are there and they are able to manage there and survive there and succeed there, the company is supportive of them. So look for companies like that. Showcase your software development skills. As I said, the technical credibility barrier is already high for women, and it gets higher as you grow older because technology is changing very fast, and there are not that many examples of people who have kept abreast. So that kind of works against those who have. So it is, many people think of this as a ceiling, but I would say the ceiling is yours to break. So you can definitely do it. It's not a big deal. It's not.
Thank you for sharing that. I think you're right. It kind of helps to hear from somebody who's actually been involved in it, as opposed to just, trying to rely on, other people, like, what your basic, internet research, or, what your friend has gone through or something. So thank you for sharing that with us. We did have a question from the chat thread that I want to try and get to. This person said, I'm a new lead and I'm struggling with how I interact with people. They say that they're not a meek person, and there's a lot of, there's, like you had talked about, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of, kind of stereotypes or boxes that people have in their head, descriptions of how these people work that, they try and fit other people into, rather than, kind of acknowledging that we're all different and might not take the same, adhere to that same stereotype. This person says they are more, confident and more comfortable with direct feedback, but they don't want to be labeled as aggressive for saying things the same way like that a male manager might and would get away with. Do you have any advice for kind of how to walk that line, or maybe even just how to be more confident and comfortable in this, management style that works best for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a very, very it's a fantastic question, and this is very important for our feedback, just for providing feedback to people, because a lot of times as women, society expects us to be a certain way. They expect us to be there is a higher bar on, like, how gentle we have to be or how soft we have to be, while at the same time we don't want to be seen as pushovers. We want to kind of also say what we think, and also be more 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 direct without being assertive or being perceived as being arrogant. So one of the things that you can, and this is a challenge that we have to face. Like, a lot of times, like, men don't get held up to the same challenge, same level. So a lot of those, for that, actually, a few things which help are that when you can say things like, be direct, be open, but at the same time, stay polite. When you're questioned, like, I've had certain situations in my life where I've had people ask me, it was actually, to an extent, it was actually funny. In one of my previous lives, right, I had once come up with a great idea and come up with a design and everything, and the person was like, oh, this is fantastic, this is wonderful, but who's going to write all this code, because it's very complex code? Who's going to do it? I'm like, I'm going to do it. So be direct, and make sure that as you're leading or as you're doing things, if things are called out that way, or you're told these things, stay confident and provide a confident answer. Confidence is the exact opposite of being aggressive or arrogant. Confidence is, you can show confidence without being, without being in the face.
I absolutely agree with that. The idea, people who are kind of aggressive or arrogant, that usually comes from a place of fear, right? It comes from this idea that everybody is going to figure out that they don't know what they're doing, or they want to make sure people, respect them or whatever. But yeah, coming across as more direct and, kind of trying to ground yourself in that confident feeling is, kind of an invaluable skill to have. So I love that advice. Thank you. All right. This person had asked, they said, I've been in the same company and domain for many years, and advancing my career seems very challenging. How can I overcome my experience and the setting and give my career a jump start? So I feel like this is maybe pretty common for people. It's not like, it's not like several, like at least the last generation where like people got a job and they stayed at the same place for 25, 35 years. But there are people who have been in their roles a while and people that want to keep advancing, but maybe don't want to or can't do it through job hopping. So what would you say to this person who thinks that, they need something to jumpstart a career that seems to have, kind of plateaued a little?
Yeah, so sometimes, I mean, this is an experience we have. Like sometimes we get taken for granted. We get passed up for career advancement. Sometimes there are other new people who are hired for positions where you're ignored, even though you may be the most capable candidate, but people may not see it. So one of the things that I would suggest for you is, talk to your manager and express that you want to take your career, you want to move forward and take your career to the next step. Express interest in taking on new responsibilities. And as I said before, take every opportunity and run with it. So don't wait for permission. Don't wait for a yes. Take the opportunity and run with it. Your X has to be done and you have recognized that X has to be done. Just do it. Suddenly surprise them with having done it. Just say, you know what, I was just trying this out and this is what I found, and this is share that with them. Nothing, shows your talent and your ability as much as being able to show interest. If you're interested in it and it will be noticed. And if it is not happening, sometimes, career advancement, or we kind of begin to stagnate in the positions because of the company's financial situation or budget constraints or openings for that position in your team. Like, for example, you may be in a team which is not really, or in a business unit which may not be really doing well and may not be growing. So in that situation, explore other teams in the company. So if the company is good and if the people there are good and you enjoy working there and you are, you feel that you can contribute more to the company, explore all the options before you decide of the move, before you decide that the move is right for you. But as Meg said, we're not anymore living in a world where we have to work for 30 years in the same company. So it's not, it is certainly an option that you have.
Okay. So kind of going back to that idea of being assertive with male coworkers, or especially assertive with coworkers in general. We had a lot of people that wanted to know if you could share an example of ways that you've had to provide feedback to male coworkers, especially where you've had to be assertive. Now, not obviously, I feel like the way the question was written, they're more anticipating negative feedback and having to deliver it assertively. But have you, in your career, have you experienced this or had to deliver feedback like this?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, one of the things is that a conversation for feedback, especially negative feedback, is always a difficult conversation, no matter on which end you are, like whether you're giving that negative feedback or whether you're receiving that negative feedback, it doesn't matter. It is always a very difficult conversation. So you, and most of us, like including me, we always have a lot of difficulty handling difficult conversations because we kind of tend to shy away from them. We kind of, it's very difficult to say that, right? So one of the things which really helps is that provide objective feedback. It's very important to be objective and direct. If you don't say it, they will not know it. And second thing is feedback should never be personal. So never say you did this or said this or anything that is more personal, but instead think of it as like, this is how I felt, or was my observation, or where you give a possibility that you may have felt it wrong or you may have observed it wrong. That is another approach that you can take to provide the feedback in an assertive manner, but yet make it also palatable to the other person, because the feedback is valuable only if the other person can consume that feedback. If the other person cannot consume that feedback, then that feedback is wasted feedback, because they're never going to make any changes based on that feedback. They're never going to progress on that feedback. So feedback should always be such that it is palatable, and helps the other person move forward. Stay as clear as possible. Sometimes feedback also, giving negative feedback and recalling certain situations makes it very emotional. So try to keep the emotion out of the feedback. So, I'll give you an example. I had a situation where I had opportunities were provided to others in my team, but I felt I was being left out, and it was repeated over and over. I was asked to work on all these non-strategic tasks, and I was like, I thought I was doing well, and I was like, I was delivering everything that I was supposed to deliver, and why are these projects landing up with me? So I decided to take that, and I decided to talk with my manager and ask, what was it that I was missing? And I was told the plan was to get others to catch up. So I said, how long should I wait until they do? I have to progress too. So make sure that you express your side of the situation. And even as a leader, when you're talking to your team member and providing negative feedback, be direct, but be clear that there is a way out for them, that it is not that they are doomed, after this feedback. So provide the feedback as a mechanism for growth. And it's always, at all situations, keep it polite, positive, and more as a vehicle for progress.
Awesome. Thank you for that. So we have time for probably one more question before we go kind of switch gears a little bit to talk a little bit more about Netskope. I'm trying to see what we have question-wise that's left here. All right, so I thought this question was really interesting. This person wanted to know, how can one move from getting in the door to helping lead or shape an organization, to move beyond, filling a seat, or, being a statistic that adds up to their, total quota of employees, versus having influence within the company? So have you experienced this shift, in a specific company that you've worked at? Tell us a little bit about your take on this question.
Absolutely. I think this is a great question, and building influence is actually a skill that many people grapple with, both men and women. Basically, building influence in the company is actually, just like feedback. Building influence in a company requires you to put yourself in the other person's shoes, to kind of, look at every situation from the perspective of the other person. So because every situation, actually, we all know, there are multiple perspectives. There's the perspective of the person doing it, there's perspective of the person who's involved in it, on the other end of the spectrum, or the person who is observing this. So you have to understand the perspective of the person whom you're actually working with. So building influence means that providing the help, reaching out to them and providing help, and providing not just about, hey, it's not just about complaining and saying, oh, I need this, or I have this, or things like that. But instead of that, looking at it from the perspective of how can I make a difference for you? So, people, are not, influence is a two-way street. It's not that nobody will, you will not be in a position to make a high impact, or a position to make a change. Change is never easy for anybody. And you will not be in a position to make that change if you try to make that change by providing your justification for that change. You have to look at that change about how that change, look at the change, that change from the perspective of how can that change help the other person. And that's when you start building influence, and you start making an impact. So this is something that is very key to growing in a company. And reach out to mentors in your company. That's another way to build influence. So reach out to people who can connect you to other people. Reach out to any networking organizations if that works for you. I have to tell you personally, I have not been very good at that. So that is not personally my approach. So it does not have to be the same approach for everybody, but that is another way that you can reach out and build influence.
Okay, sorry about that, y'all. I had a hiccup with my audio there. No, I want to thank you for covering that, because you're right. It seems like a very nebulous topic, right? This idea of like building influence, or like how do I go from being just another worker bee to like being somebody that's at the table for these things. So yeah, I want to thank you so much for breaking that down, because it's one of those things that like still, it always kind of feels weird, right? It feels like too formal is kind of the way a little bit to look at it, like you're trying to see the future or something, and because not everybody gets to that. So yeah, I love your perspective on this. Thank you. All right, so in our last 5 minutes, I want to come back around to talk a little bit more about Netskope's company culture. Now, the screen you're looking at right now is some questions that we had asked Shaila prior to today's session. She described the company culture at Netskope as inclusive. That's a pretty common one, at least across the companies that we work with, which is great. I really want to dig in a little bit more about your favorite part about working at Netskope. Can you expand on this answer for us?
Sure. Yeah. So essentially, Netskope, all through leadership, and it starts right from the top, throughout. It permeates the entire culture at Netskope. Most of us, almost everyone. I cannot think of anyone who is not in that place. Where basically the goal is to include people. Goal is to welcome ideas. Goal is to provide the flexibility for people to succeed with work, with family, with all the different other challenges that they may be facing, whether it's taking care of their parents, or taking care of health issues, or all kinds of different things. And of course, diversity comes in many different ways, and diversity has many layers to it. So every layer of diversity, Netskope welcomes and includes them. We have a diversity and inclusion team that is led by our senior leadership. And we have, when I say senior leadership, I'm talking about C-level leadership, who lead the diversity and inclusion at Netskope. And so we have a lot of programs for that. One of the programs for women is Avon, Amazing Women of Netskope. And there are many other programs where there is one thing to accept and another thing to celebrate. So Netskope is truly not just inclusive, but goes ahead further to celebrate the diversity of people.
I love that distinction, right? It's kind of the difference between somebody saying like, oh, we're having a party this weekend, you can come if you want to, versus like, oh yeah, we're having a party, do you want to come? It'd be great to have you. We're going to do, such and such games you like, or we're going to have the snacks you enjoy, blah, blah. Like, you're right. There truly is a world difference between inclusion and celebration, and inclusion and actual belonging. All right, so in the last 2 minutes we have, I am going to switch our slide here to show some of the open roles at Netskope. I know several of these are within your own department or within your teams, correct?
Yes.
Awesome.
So I just, there are few teams that report to me. As I said in the previous bio, that I also work as an architect for certain projects, and as an individual contributor in that role. And I also there are two teams that report to me as well. These are in the areas of test infrastructure development. So we are involved, the team is involved in building frameworks and infrastructure and services for building automation and testing. The team, there is another team that reports to me as well, which is the performance team. And the performance team is involved in performance testing and performance recommendations. So these are two teams, and these are positions in those teams, and we are very open to receiving, resumes and talking to you all on this. So and it's open. It doesn't have to be in the Bay Area. It can be anywhere. So it can be remote. So looking forward to talking to some people.
Oh, great. Awesome. Yeah, highly encourage y'all to check out Netskope's company page and apply to those jobs that interest you. I know we're always short of our time here, but I just want to say a huge thank you, Shaila, to you. It's never just the hour that you see in front of, our audience. There's all kinds of, prep work that goes on behind the scenes. So I just want to say a huge thank you to taking time out of your day to prepare for this, as well as to spend with us and, kind of share your experiences with our group today.
Thank you very much, Meg. I really appreciate your providing me the opportunity to do this. And also thank you to all the attendees and all the people who have registered as well, and excellent questions. I think more than any insight, I cannot claim that I really have it figured out or have it all understood. I hope that some of the answers that I gave you are helpful for you, and wish you a lot of success and growth and happiness in this area.
Thank you, Shaila. I think you're right. There's a lot of people chiming in the chat saying how insightful they found this or how helpful. So I think you're right. I think there's a lot of people that are going to pull value from today's session. And I completely echo Shaila. Thank you so much to our amazing attendees and registrants. These questions were so good. And I loved the questions that y'all submitted during the session too. It really helps to make these events be much more interactive. So thank you for that. So that brings us to the end of our time today, but I want to say a huge thank you to everybody that watched today, both on our live stream on YouTube, as well as joined us on the Zoom recording. And hopefully we'll see many more of you join us for upcoming events. So until the next time we see you, I hope that y'all have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday and hope to see you soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Bye, everybody. Thank you.